Okay, so I guess I'm going to go ahead and kick it off so that we can, I know there's sort of a limited bandwidth that you can maintain doing one of these, and we have a lot of ground to cover. So I'm just gonna get it going. I'm Rebecca Case. For those of you that don't know me, I am the current president of the Dallas Producers Association. An interesting time to be a new president of the organization. And for those of you that aren't super familiar with the DPA and maybe just have encountered this, the Dallas Producers Association has been around for a little over 40 years. It's not just for people in Dallas, and it's not just for producers. That's sort of how it started out. But we are, an organization meant for all of the production professionals that are working in North Texas, for us to network and get together, share resources, hopefully hire each other when that time comes around again, and otherwise, just build a community. So we are going to be holding we normally have a monthly meeting every month, and we're going to be doing those virtually. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just looking at how to do this here. Is everybody seeing Mark as the main?
Oh my God.
You can,
I'm gonna
unpin people.
I was seeing you.
Oh, okay.
I'm seeing you, Rebecca.
Okay, that's good. I don't know. I'm figuring it out. So, all right. Thanks for being patient with me. Okay. And then, so back to our meetings, this is obviously one, we're going to talk about some resources that are out there. As you all know, we're, at least in Dallas County, we're under a shelter in place ordinance. And so there's, some work going on, but for the most part, there's not. So tonight we're going to be talking about a lot of resources for those of us that aren't working. We're going to be talking about some resources for ways that you can earn passive income. And then otherwise, just try to cover as much as we can about what's going on out there. And then our next meeting, we have our third Thursday breakfast that we do every month. We're going to go ahead and have a virtual version of that. I believe my tagline in our post was BYOB, bring your own breakfast, which I thought was funny. So that'll be on April 16th at 8 a.m. and it'll just be an opportunity to get together in this format and network. Everybody can go around and do a 30-second commercial kind of elevator pitch and talk about what they do. And then talk about what's going on, and just use it as an opportunity to connect. And then our next monthly meeting is going to be on May 5th, and it's going to be on working remotely and sort of remote workflows, how to, tips, tools, cameras, cloud storage solutions, the sort of tech that, everybody maybe doesn't know how to use in their home environment or is trying to figure out, or how to transplant their office to their home. So that'll be our next big topic. And then just by the way, we're recording this meeting. I'm going to put it up after the fact so that people can come back and watch it later on if people weren't able to attend right now. And then any links that we share, we'll put all those out. So we'll try to make it so that everybody can kind of get to this stuff later on. And I'm going to try to keep an eye on the chat. So if any questions come up, or if anybody has any anecdotes or stuff that they want to talk about their experience with some of this, obviously we're going to try to keep it moving as quickly as possible, but please reach out in the chat if you have any questions. My plan was to sort of talk about the different government programs that are going on, that some of us that are either brand new or stuff like the Texas Workforce Commission and unemployment benefits have been around forever, but haven't necessarily been available to people that are self-employed or freelancers or whatever. So talking about some of that. I know Jessica Christopherson is here from Film Fort Worth, and she's got to jump off. So I want to go ahead and let's have maybe her talk about some of the stuff that's going on in Fort Worth, and then Janis, I'll probably throw it over to you to talk about some of the stuff that's going on here locally, and then we can just start talking about some of these programs, and then end with other ways to make money, hopefully in this time that isn't a benefit program or a grant or something. So Jessica, are you available to take over?
Yeah, thank you so much. Hey everyone, thank you for including us on this call. So it's great to see some familiar faces in there. Hey Janis. Anyway, yeah, just wanted to give you guys an update. If you haven't seen the news on social media and some of the coverage, that we do have a fund that we've partnered with the United Way of Tarrant County, and then Here Fort Worth, which is our music initiative that's also under Visit Fort Worth, where the Film Commission in Fort Worth is housed. We partnered with them to creative industry fundraiser grant program. So it applies to filmmakers, musicians, and visual artists. So far we've collectively raised about $20,000 and issued a little over, I think it's 83 grants now, and we're continuing to see funds come in. So it's open to anyone in Tarrant County. Since we partner with Tarrant County and United Way, it does have to be a Tarrant County address. But if you haven't seen that link, you can find it on filmfortworth.com. And we're actively collecting donations through United Way Tarrant County. They're reaching out to their contacts. And then we have a paid social campaign soliciting donations as well. So again, it's open to visual artists, filmmakers, and musicians. So definitely encourage y'all to check that out. And then if you have anyone you want to pass it along to, please feel free. But we're going to keep that open as long as the funds continue to come in, and just continue to reaching out to people as well. So, but happy to answer any questions about that. Otherwise, we are just working within our office to try to figure out what else we can do to be a resource during this time. We did launch just a fun little initiative on Film Fort Worth social media called Distancing Distractions. So we're trying to encourage people to produce fun content at home that we'll then share on our social media channels and Lone Star Film Festival as well. So we've gotten some cute submissions for that from students. So if you or your children need something to do, then we're happy to share that on our social media channels as well. We've reached out to some student groups who've been producing some fun stuff at home as well. But yeah, happy to answer any questions, and really just want to try to be as supportive as we can during this time. So
thanks, Jessica. Do you mind throwing the link to that that grant program in the chat?
Absolutely.
Cool. Does anybody else have any questions for Jessica? Okay, if we see any come through, we can always ping you again. All right, then Janis, do you want to talk about what the Dallas Film Commission is doing right now?
Yeah, a lot of you probably already know we're in transition at this point. We are moved out of City Hall. We're no longer part of city government. And we're now back over at Visit Dallas, which is where we started the Film Commission originally a little over 10 years ago now. It's a little strange time, of course, to be in transition and then have all this happen. So I don't have all my electronic files from the city yet, which has been very frustrating, but they're copying them today. She showed me it shows one more day left to copy those files. But one of the things we've done is, number one, we just onboarded this past week. Meg Gould is our new assistant director. So everybody, please wish Meg Gould a hearty welcome back, because she worked with us for about 8 years, about 7 years ago, for 8 years. So she has been at Visit Dallas doing tourism. So she's still at Visit Dallas, and we got her back. Anyway, one of the things I've been focused on here lately is to aggregate as much information as I could as far as assistance programs out there that are aimed primarily at the creative industries and arts folks, which you guys all are part of, as a place to just kind of everything we could get to point you to one place. And I will put in the link pretty quickly, but it's on our website. We've got in there, first off, it was about people were contacting me constantly wanting to know, could they film, could they get a permit? So we started with that, and then once it was becoming where people weren't really filming anymore, it became more about the assistance. You'll notice I've got it broken out by a lot of different categories, but I do strongly encourage you to read through a lot of them, because some of them are broadening out their base now. It may say the Actors Fund. It's now Entertainment Assistance Program. So it covers more than actors now, and several of the others are doing that as well.
Janice, where is this? Where can we
It's
find
on our
this?
website.
Can you post a
let me
link
see.
to it on the chat?
I will. It's
Thanks.
yeah. It's dallasfilmcommission.com/COVID-19/ but I will put it in when I get back. I've got like multiple computers and iPad going here. So, anyway, there's, we keep adding to it as we find more and more. And if you see something missing when you get a chance to look at it, please just ping me an email or something and let me know, and we'll get it added. The CARES Act, I think everybody's still trying to figure that one out. I talked to a woman a little bit ago who successfully did apply for a small business loan. Whether she's gotten a loan yet, we don't know, but she did get her application in finally. It took a little bit, but it went through, and they acknowledged they got it. So
yeah, I did the same thing as well. I've went through my bank. I went through Bank of America. That's who I normally bank with, and they had sent me an email just out of the blue, and there was a link in there, and then it's actually a pretty simple process. So highly recommend it.
Have you heard back yet?
Yeah, I did. I got an email back that said they've received it, and then next step is that they'll send me a list of documents that I'm supposed to send to them, and then we'll go from there. I don't think they've really started the complete process on that, other than just filing an application.
This is SB.
It's the Paycheck Protection. Right, Rebecca? Is that what it is?
Yeah, well, there's two different programs, and we'll talk about them both. The timing, at least as it stands right now, that they've discussed, is it'll take potentially 2 to 3 weeks to process the applications, and then once you're approved, it's up to 5 days to disperse the funds. That may change just with the number of of applications that they're receiving. So, you know, we'll just kind of have to see what happens. But I submitted one for the economic injury, or the emergency industry disaster loan. And I got the same. I mean, I haven't gotten anything other than a confirmation email.
Well, I submitted the same thing, but I didn't get a confirmation, so maybe I should try again.
What was that, Rebecca? Again, can you?
Yeah, we're actually I'm gonna go through all of these. So if you'll bear with me, maybe we can just we can get into it really quick. Janis, were you done going through Dallas stuff? I don't want to cut you off.
Well, I have actually also reached out to some of the other funders. There's a lot of different activities going on right now. Jessica was great. They got into it really quickly. We weren't able to move that fast, and then everybody was clamped down into doing these bigger, more inclusive funds. But I did have a conversation with a woman from the Dallas Foundation who's involved with that, and they completely do understand that creative industry workers, film crew, musicians, actors, gig workers in general are going to be really hurt by this, and they plan to take that into consideration. Again, a lot of these funds that I have posted on our website, that's additional money that you can apply for beyond what the federal government is doing. So I encourage you guys to all go look at some of those. Additionally, besides sharing information about what's going on, we want to encourage you during this time, while you have time, to please go and either update your listing in our production directory or create a listing in our directory. It's really important for us to attract business here. Whether you think you're getting work from it directly or not, having everybody in the directory helps show that the industry is here and can sustain projects. You may not think people are looking at it, but I guarantee you they are from outside. And if they don't see that we have people listed, they think that we don't have crew, because why wouldn't you be? It's how people, particularly coming in from outside the market, are going to look. So please do that. We are in the process of doing some revamping on it. We're going to brush up the categories. If you see a category or don't see a category that you wish that you'd like to be listed in, send us an email and we'll see if we can't add it. We'll definitely consider it. We're in the process, like I said, of looking at those now. So is the Texas Film Commission. The other thing that some of you may have heard me talk about a little bit before is I had actually broached this several years ago with my former bosses about expanding into the creative industries, because as you all know, everybody works together. Music, film, television, commercials, and even further than that, literature, all those folks. If we have I believe if we can show Dallas as a more creative overall city, that it will help us attract film and TV business as well. So we're going to expand into the Dallas creative industries soon. This COVID stuff has put us a little behind. We were putting the hammer down to get that done, and now that slowed down a little bit, but maybe there's a little bit of silver lining. We might have time to work on some of the stuff like finishing our website that is hard to do, as well as updating the production directory. I really encourage you to do that. Does anybody have any remarks or questions about the directory? Because now you've got us. Let us know. Meg's on here too, I think. So.
And Meg posted a link to add yourself to the directory. I can see in the chat.
Yeah, Meg has shared it there.
Yeah.
Are old listings that were done before the changeover still a part of the directory?
Yeah, unless you got a message from us saying that we were deleting it or something. I had sent out some emails asking people to update their listings because they were incredibly old, and we were having a hard time verifying if people were even still here. So some of those may have gotten deleted, but otherwise it should still be there. But I encourage you to update it, because it doesn't look good if you don't have current credits. Then people think you're not working. Make sure your contact information and email and everything are correct. And I also encourage you to list some of your credits in that box. Don't just put a link to IMDb. That doesn't look very professional, because a lot of these folks are just scrolling through and they want to see like the last 1 or 2 things you worked on is what they're going to look at first off. Then they'll see if they want to look further down.
Okay.
So anyway, please do that. It's interesting. There was, we're part of the Association of Film Commissioners International, and we have our own little private Facebook group where we chat about how to do things and how to handle certain issues. And a woman went on recently from another market and asked if other people, what they were doing to get people to sign up in their directory, and universally everybody complained that it was hard to get people to do it, either to sign up or to update. And so none of us can figure out what that is, because our clients certainly want it as a resource. We provide it to you for free, so please take advantage of that. And if there's a problem, let us know. I think those are the key ones.
Okay, great. Thanks, Janis. Okay, so let's, I'm going to switch over to talking about some of these programs that are going on. So the first thing here, I'm going to add a link. I'm sorry, I'm switching between 2 monitors, so I'm trying to keep track of everything. So this is just, there's a ton of resources out there. This is an article I just encountered today that I thought was helpful. So but so this is for that stimulus check. This is the one that you probably have heard about. That's like $1,200 for each person, I think, is the max that you can get. Just so everybody knows, if they don't already, this check is automatic. So the IRS will issue these based on your either 2018 or 2019 tax return, whichever they have most recently. And so you don't have to do anything, and there should be if you had direct deposit set up with your filing, then they'll just send the money to whichever bank account is on file. So the only thing that you would have to do with these stimulus checks is if you had not filed your taxes to do that. And then I think, and of course there's different thresholds, you know, if you've made over a certain amount of money, then they pare it back a little bit. And then if you have dependents, you get more money for that. And then of course, if you, I know there was something I'd read, you know, if you're like in your early 20s and your parents list you as a dependent, then you don't get a check yourself, like they get your money. So anyway, that's that stimulus check. That's sort of the broad overview of that one. If anybody has any questions specifically, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I will move on to these SBA loans, which I know has
I
been
was
confusing.
curious.
Okay.
If you're not already signed up with direct deposit, can you go in and do that now? So because I understand that the direct deposits will be much quicker than mailed checks. Do you know? Does anybody know the answer to that question?
That's what I've heard too.
So I'm wondering if I go to
Yes, you can.
irs.gov.
I've done it. You can.
Okay, good.
Okay, I could just go in and do it now, even though I'm not getting.
Yeah, there's a link on how you get paid. You just change it from credit card or check. Just change it to your direct deposit. You have to put in your routing number and check number or account number.
Okay. All right, thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, so then let's go to talking about some of these SBA loans. I'm putting another link in the chat here. This is the most helpful thing that I've seen so far as a breakdown of what the different loan programs are that are through the Small Business Administration, and sort of how to understand how they relate to each other, you know, what they're for, etc. Sorry, this video thing is it's distracting me. So there's two different ones. The one that I think we already started talking about a little bit is the emergency injury disaster loan, the EIDL. And this is the one that's for, I'm not sure who's unmuted. And so this is the one that's for people that need an infusion of like a smaller amount of cash to cover them right now. And it is a loan. It's for small businesses and nonprofits. It's at a lower interest rate, but the loan itself is not forgivable. I believe the interest rates are 3.75% for small businesses and 2.75% for nonprofits. And then you're supposed to use these funds to pay, I have a list here. It's fixed debt, payroll, accounts payable, or other bills that cannot be paid because of the disaster's impact. So that's somewhat broad, but I will note, in my experience, I went ahead and filled this out because I have my LLC, and it asked me at the end if I was receiving any other forms of assistance, which I was not, and currently still am not. But I don't know what that means if you want to collect unemployment from the state as well. So that I think I don't fully know. My gut thought is you're not supposed to double dip with these programs. So if you're receiving unemployment benefits and then you want to have one of these loans, you just shouldn't be paying your own paycheck with the loan. The loan should be for other things. So that's my understanding of that one. And then there's a component of this that's—
Can I jump in real quick and let you know? I talked to my accountant. He said I should apply for all three.
Okay.
It would work it out later. I don't know what that means. Talk to your own accountant.
I actually had the same experience as well. And yesterday, the National Reporting Academy put on a webinar with their employment law specialist and then their head of DC lobbying and all that, and they were talking about it. They said to go ahead and apply for everything. And if you were set up as an LLC or S Corp, you're eligible to get both unemployment from your state as well as the PPP loans.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
That's good to know.
That's correct. You are separate from your LLC. So you can apply for funds for your LLC to cover business expenses, and you can also apply because you're out of work for unemployment.
Okay. Well, that's good because I applied for both. So a component of the EIDL is that emergency economic injury grant, and that's the forgivable $10,000 advance that you may have heard about, a $10,000 thing. So as part of filling out the application for the EIDL loan, you can check if you want this $10,000 forgivable advance that doesn't need to be repaid. I believe you do have to report what you spent that money on. So you have to be prepared to do that. But if you want that like $10,000 from the government, you have to fill out this loan application as part of it.
I applied for that about 3 days before the deadline. The form was readily available online. I had to tell them last year's numbers and, ID myself. And that's the only one I've applied for thus far. I'm waiting to hear back.
So I talked to the SBA on Monday afternoon about that grant loan. My application went in March 31st, and I have the confirmation number in the email. So my question to them was, where is it in the process? And she said at least 2 to 3 weeks, just as you had already told us. She said, but at that time we should get an email from a loan processor saying that they're going to contact us with the email that we did the application with. She said, the SBA lady said, if we don't hear something in 2 to 3 weeks, to feel free to call them. There is a number at the bottom, and that's the number I called. Don't call on a Monday. And she also said they work on the weekends. She said the best time to reach them is Friday afternoons and Saturdays and Sundays, believe it or not. But she said at least 2 to 3 weeks until we hear from a processor to give us that money or work us through that money.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Just a heads up here. This is Jeff Miller. Just in our experience, so our CPA sent us the forms, I think last Tuesday or Wednesday, and we were filling them out. And then we heard from our bank, who informed us that they had changed the forms. So we got those forms on Friday and filled them out and submitted them. And before the end of the day, they called us back and sent us another set of forms and said that the forms had changed again. So they sent new forms. The new forms had changed, and they told us that our banker told us that the forms had changed like 4 or 5 times last week alone. So if I don't, that's all I can speak to is just our experience. But if you've submitted forms already, you may want to check with the people that you've submitted them with.
Jeff, was that for the $10,000 SBA grant?
No, that was for the PPP.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, that's a different one. Yeah. Okay. Which I guess, Jeff, thank you. We'll segue into the other loan program, which is the PPP one. It's the Paycheck Protection Program, and this one is specifically the one. This is meant to cover the cost of retaining employees, so it's for paychecks. And I'm putting a link in the chat. This is, I think, the most helpful explanation of it that I was able to find. So these are forgivable loans for small businesses to pay their employees. And then the loan amounts will be forgiven as long as the loan proceeds are used to cover payroll costs, most mortgage, interest, rent, utility costs over the 8-week period after the loan is made. And if employee and compensation levels are maintained, so that, if you have people on payroll, that you're continuing to pay them the same amount that you were paying them pre-disaster. And then the payroll costs are capped at $100,000 annualized basis for each employee. And then I was just sorry, due to likely high subscription, it's anticipated that not more than 25% of the forgiven amount may be for non-payroll costs. So this one's really, it's primarily meant for payroll. And so you may have heard this one started on Friday, April 3rd. So there's been a lot of discussion about this one for small businesses and sole proprietorships. And then starting this Friday, April 10th, it becomes available for independent contractors and self-employed individuals. So to cover the payroll and it says other certain expenses through existing SBA lenders. So I don't know if anybody other than Jeff has had the experience of applying for the PPP one. I haven't done that. I had done the other one. My understanding is that you can apply for both. You just can't use them for the same purpose. So if you're awarded the PPP one, you would use that one for payroll. And if you're also awarded the EIDL one, you would just have to use that for other, accounts payable or other costs. And then again, like I think with both, or definitely with both loans, you need to be able to demonstrate or document what the funds were used for.
Rebecca, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just going to turn it over to anybody that wanted to talk about their experience with it.
Yeah, I was applying for that this week, and one of the things that I ran into with like 3 different banks is they all require you to be a existing customer for a lot of them. So if your current bank is not an SBA loan, an SBA lender, they may or may not take you on if you're not their customer already.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my
bank. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that was my experience with Bank of America. Like I said earlier, they're my bank and they are an SBA lender, and I was able to apply. The 2 requirements, or the requirements they put on it, was that one, I had to already have an existing business account with them, and I have to have an existing lending account with them for the business. Or this kind of gets weird. Or I have to have an existing business checking account with them, and I am not receiving any other credit lending from another source.
Oh. Well, if it's helpful to anybody, I found that a bank called First Convenience Bank here in Richardson is an SBA lender, and they told me over the phone that they will accept people who are not their customers for these loans.
TJ, which bank was that?
First Convenience Bank.
Okay.
They're on Centennial Boulevard in Richardson.
Do you would you mind throwing a link into the chat to
Absolutely
to them? Okay, that would be awesome. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts, experiences with the SBA loans? I've applied. I got the confirmation email. I also took a screenshot when I submitted it that had my application number. I did not see that come up again in the email, so I would recommend doing that. I also took lots of screenshots through my Texas workforce application process, and glad I did, because I have not received any confirmation emails or seen any proof that I did that other than my screenshots. So I recommend that to everyone for these. But does anybody else have anything on the SBA before we move on?
Has anybody not received any feedback from that loan? Because I didn't get anything back after applying for the disaster loan.
No,
Neither have I, but now
I just screenshotted that confirmation number. Yeah, I printed this confirmation number thing, but that was it.
Okay, so it might just be taking some people a little bit longer to get something, but I just wanted, has anybody tried to check up on it without getting an email back?
No,
I
but
think you can call anytime.
I've still got mine up from applying today, and it says you will not receive an email confirmation of your application submission. You'll be notified through email, the one that you added when your application has been processed.
Okay. I had an email that basically said, if you're interested in the grant, make sure that you filled out the newest version of the application, because they had updated it on their website, but I had done that already. So anyway, I think these are all because they're just figuring these things out and trying to roll them out so quickly. I'm sure it's strange for everyone. Okay.
Hey, Rebecca, did you see Jill Beasley's comment that Wells Fargo reached their cap Sunday night?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I had heard that on the news, that there were banks that were already capped out. She said to try Cabbage, though.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I'm going to jump in real quick because it sounds like banks are going to be a problem for people if they haven't applied yet. I'm with Veritex Bank, and the same thing applied. I'm already a customer, so customers are getting their serviced first, and then they'll look at where they're at and come back and see if new customers. However, I did hear that Frost Bank is being very aggressive about helping people because they would like to be larger in this area. So Frost Bank may be another bank to look at if you haven't applied yet.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the tip. Okay. Well, as we find out more, we'll try to keep stuff updated and put links out there. I did want to mention, just while we're on federal programs, there's also the National Endowment for the Arts has a $75 million, I guess, and I'm not thinking of the right word, but they've added $75 million to their endowment from this CARES Act. And the NEA awards funds to nonprofit organizations. So depending on what kind of activities you guys are working on, I know like our film festival is run and managed by a nonprofit. And so we're going to be trying to look at funds for that from the NEA. They haven't put anything out there yet other than that this is part of it. So there's not an application yet. There's not really any specifics, but it's something to keep an eye on if any of you are working on nonprofit projects in the arts. There's at least some money that's been set aside for that specifically. Okay, then I'm gonna, here, I'll put a link into that really quick, just in case anybody wants to read about it. And then we can move on. We'll work our way down to the state level and talk about the Texas Workforce Commission and the unemployment benefits. I think I mentioned already that I applied. I did mine like late at night. It was the only time I could get the website to load. I think that's still a good course of action if you haven't applied yet, or if you're working on your application, is to do it at an off-peak time, because the website can't handle the number of people that are applying for unemployment benefits. I think a lot of people have had issues applying, whether, they're not really set up to take freelancers or contract workers, and you can apply as yourself, but it's sort of unclear because the application is really had been created for people that have traditional full-time employment. So the way I did it, like I have an LLC that I run all my work through. So I just put my employer as my LLC. I put the name associated with, my boss is myself, and submitted it that way. My suggestion is because, okay, Marlene sent a number. That's good to know. I tried to call several times and got a busy signal every time I called their main line. My suggestion is to just apply. Like and get in the queue and then have something you can reference back to, because I think when you call, they want to talk to you about your application, and if there's not an application to reference, I would hate for people to lose days waiting to get somebody on the phone. At least that was my understanding. And then, but anyway, I would suggest applying, and then you can go through an appeals process if your application isn't the way that you wanted it to be. I had a weird issue where usually I do all of my work through my LLC and, as a loan out. But I worked for like 2 weeks on a movie last fall at like a really low PA rate, just because I wanted to work on it a little bit. And the payroll accountant set me up as a W-2 employee. So I made like a couple $100 as a W-2 employee on this film. And so when I went to submit for my unemployment benefit with TWC, that popped up, and it wouldn't take where you tell it, this is how much I make in whatever pay period. So I just did for the year, since that just relates to my tax return. But it wouldn't take that. It wanted my, I guess my yearly equivalent for getting paid $125 a day for a couple of days was like $15,000. So because that one project had set me up as a W-2 employee, I had to submit my application as my compensation being at like $15,000 a year, and it wouldn't take anything else. So I just went ahead and applied as that, even though it's incorrect, so I can go through an appeals process later and at least get it submitted. Because as I mentioned, I tried calling several times to talk to somebody about it, and that's seemingly impossible. So that was my personal experience trying to apply for unemployment benefits. I don't know, has anybody else been through this? Any tidbits or tips or anything that would be of interest to share that anybody else has had experience with?
So if you have any W-2 income, that's what it's going to refer to as your weekly or monthly or whatever pay period you want to set up. But they do have your tax return. And so they set up a call for those where it doesn't match. So when you should get an email that says you will get a call from us, and that's where you explain, look, my tax return clearly shows I made more than $15,000, and but they're set up for W-2 employment types of workers and not for gig workers like ourselves. And so you have 1099s that clearly show you made a lot more than that. So that will be taken care of when you actually get a person on the phone finally.
Yeah, and that was my assumption, and I didn't want to wait. So fingers crossed. I can prove it was more than that. But anyway, I know a lot of people have had these issues, and it is confusing the way it's set up, that you have to put your employer as yourself. So has anybody else attempted this with any success?
I just did it the same way exactly how you did it today. I did it this morning. And again, I got the email saying, well, we'll need more info, try to call this number. But then later the Texas Workforce Commission posted that if you get that email, they will call you. So they posted that on their Facebook, and they're going to be live. The Texas Workforce Commission is going to be live on Facebook tomorrow. If you go and follow their page, the guy's trying to give updates as much as he can. He usually does it weekly. I'm trying to find it now on Facebook because I follow them.
I think somebody just posted it, Louisa.
Okay. Yeah, I posted the link in the chat.
Oh, yeah, cool.
But,
thanks.
The 512 number, somebody shared it with me, and you have to be diligent. And again, Mondays are not a good day, but I did get through to someone, and he didn't have the answers, but he filtered me through and reset my application, which is what I needed. I needed to fix some things on my application. If anybody has been successful, my son, who's a bartender, I mean, his just went right through, and I'm like, hello. So it seems like the self-employed are the ones who are getting tied up with the TWC. So I'd be interested if anybody has really been successful.
Yeah, when I was talking to my accountant, he just said that their whole website is so messed up with now having to accommodate us that he told me the applications wouldn't even be ready till the 10th of this month. So I was surprised to see today that we could go ahead and apply.
Yeah, and Rebecca, I'd sent you that email earlier, but I had talked to a state lobbyist, and she said that their applications were supposed to start. They were supposed to release it April 10th, is when you're supposed to be able to apply as a independent contractor.
I saw that too, but then today the Workforce Commission on their Facebook page announced that you can apply. That's the whole only reason I did it, because I was waiting because my accountant said the 10th as well. I was like, I'm gonna wait till this is all straightened out. And then they said, are you self-employed? Apply today. And I was like, okay. So we'll see.
I went through it, I believe, last Friday, because I've worked for some agencies in the past as a W-2 employee. So I had a login credentials already, and I filled it out. And I used my company name, like Rebecca said, my LLC. There was an actual radio button, an option to say, like, why are you applying? And there was a COVID-19. So I kind of went through it saying, you know, I'm self-employed now, but I am applying because of COVID-19. And then any of the description boxes, I said, freelance contractor, own my own business. You know, marketing budgets have been cut. All my clients have basically fired me for the most part. So I'm trying to do that. I haven't gotten a confirmation or anything. And every time I've tried to go back to the Texas Workforce Commission website, it's been down. So I guess I'll try again to see if I need to apply as an independent contractor.
That was the same experience I had. I submitted my application, but I didn't get an email. And then when I logged back in, I saw an old, when I had gone on unemployment a few years ago after being laid off, I could see that, but there was nothing from this year.
Yeah, and before I submitted the final application, they did ask, is my banking information current? And it wasn't a bank account that I still have, so I'm just kind of watching my Bank of America account to see if $600 just pops up there, because I have a feeling that's going to happen before I get somebody on the phone, because I think the last Facebook Live update I said they were getting upwards of 30,000 requests per day for unemployment when they usually handle like 50,000 a month. So
yeah. Cool. All right. I also wanted to share this was a link. This is a page on the US Chamber of Commerce's website. This has like a ton of really helpful links in a lot of different areas. So I wanted to share that. It's, you know, not only some of the government programs, but they have some articles about like working from home with kids, you know, strategies for how to talk to your employees if you're having to shutter your business or you're having to lay people off or whatever. So I thought there was a lot of really helpful stuff here. So it's sort of a general resource that covers a lot. I liked this. If anybody else has anything else like this that they've found that they want to throw into the chat, you know, now's the time to do it. I also wanted to, you know, of course, we'll open this up and have some questions. Before we go on to that, I want to talk a little bit about, is Craig Lillard here? I think I saw, or Joshua said that he was on. One of the things I think we want to just talk about a little bit is a lot of us have produced content that may or may not be licensed already, that we're thinking about trying to put up on a stock library, or just thinking about other ways that we can make passive income or produce stuff from home. I know a lot of voiceover artists have been able to continue to work that have home studios, so that's great. But you know, Craig, are you here? Are you able to talk to the you know, stock video library world?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So Josh asked me to come on. My name's Craig Lillard. I owned a stock media marketplace for about 10 years called Revo Stock. So we sold stock video. We're one of the first stock video, micro stock video websites. We also sold music and sound effects and After Effects templates. So asked me to come on and see if you guys had any questions about selling stock footage. Are any of you selling any stock media at the moment? Anybody have? So I don't know what can I do to help you guys, or do you want me to give kind of my thoughts on it, on whether or not it is something that I would do if I was in this particular situation?
Yeah, why don't you start with that, and then
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
see.
I think that's probably the best thing. It's not a get rich quick solution, I don't think, by any stretch of the imagination. It is a longer term play. It is, if the idea that you'd put up a clip and get a sale tomorrow is probably pretty low. Although those that upload footage, usually you'll get sales if you're going to get them. It's when you upload them. You might get some pretty quickly, so maybe that's an option. But I'm not sure if it was something that I would say, hey, you're gonna replace your income by creating a stock media library. I would more recommend that if you wanted to do that it would be more of a long-term, deal, setting yourself up if something like this ever happened again. So yeah, it's probably not the greatest news to hear, but I got to be real about it. But if there's somebody that was thinking about doing that as a way to make more income, I can definitely answer any more specific questions about it.
And I can, excuse me, I'm sorry. I can jump in on my experience. Oh gosh, when everyone started going from SD to HD, and that's when you had the kind of the big groups of the sites where you can download them off the internet. Good 10, 12 plus years ago. My wife worked at American Airlines, so I brought my HD camera with me and would just shoot scene setting places. I've got probably 400 or 500 clips somewhere in there that I've posted to many of those sites. I will get a check from what is it called? Pond 5, I think, $23.52 a month, kind of thing. So sorry to mirror what you're saying there, but probably a total from all the sites, $100 a month, maybe 150, $200 if there's a good month. But literally it just goes into my PayPal account and just sits there. So use it as extra money. So we'll agree there's a lot of saturation. And it was funny. Now I look at the other shots that are out there and the stuff that I did on sticks of, the China wall or whatever. There's some shots in there that just blow what I shot, 10 years ago away. So anyway, just echoing what you said.
Yeah.
I can jump into, my company does a little bit of stock selling. We use Pond 5 as well. And we've seen a decline in people purchasing clips. The ones that are doing well are the companies that put a little bit more post-processing on their videos, clean them up, tighten them up. Because we mostly like to do raw. Raw gives the content creators a little bit more control. Those are not selling anymore. They want clips that are just ready to go. We dropped our prices a little bit to try to compete with some of these other clips that are being sold. They're being purchased just at a much lower rate, and you have to really stand out and put a little bit more care into the clips that you're showing. If you flood them with too much, you're pretty much just throwing it at the wind there and just hoping for the best.
Okay, so it sounds like selling some of your content on a stock library is maybe more supplementary at best. Has anybody else found anything that they can do to drum up any income while all of our projects are canceled or on hold? I mean, I've been using this time, I think a lot of people have, to do some projects on my house that I had in the works that had been, had fallen by the wayside for a period of time. I know I would say too, I think that there's this kind of thing going on where a lot of people feel really driven to do self-improvement projects, or like, now's the time to just write that screenplay or read this book that I haven't read or whatever. I've been of the opinion to do what you feel like you can do, because this has been a pretty unmanageable and anxiety-ridden time. Even on the best days, there's sort of a low level of like, what the hell is going on? And are we gonna survive this? So I've been trying to take it easy on myself and, finish stuff that's going on and work on stuff where I can. And then just hope that these checks from the government start coming in soon. But has anybody else found any ways to be productive and, do anything with their newfound freedom?
I've been going through my client roster, excuse me, I just started doing it. I don't know if two of us are talking at the same time, but
yeah.
I've been going through my client roster, just the larger clients where I know I have a lot of their assets from post, a lot of generic B-roll from their facilities and everything, and I've just definitely seen an increase in cause marketing. So just reaching out and proactively saying, hey, is there any messaging that you need to get out to your customers or your partners and stuff like that? I have a lot of these materials already. We can get a voiceover artist to kind of do a script. We can put some visuals together, and just trying to see if I can drum up any, like 30 to 60, 90 second, like, hey, this is what X company is doing, and, doing that. I've also been reaching out a lot to advise clients on live streaming, because that's popped up a lot, and I have some experience in that. But, I think we're all just beating the bushes and going around and seeing what we can do and what value we can add to our clients.
I would add that, as Jessica said, we're going to be doing a page as well to start sharing some content. So if you guys get creative and start doing some short films, please keep them in mind that we would like to have them clean so that we can share them. And also something that's coming up in the future, I think we're going to be doing a songwriting contest and some other things like that. So get your creative vibe on while you have time.
We've been in business for over 40 years. So I'm Cynthia Mondell, Nala Mondell. I think our names are on here. I started going through files of tons and tons of films and throwing a lot of paper away. But the other thing is that for me, I can't speak for Alan, I felt the need to not realize people don't have any money, because we've lost a couple big things that we were going to be doing. But it was to do something for others. So we've been trying to contact organizations that might have, we have a lot of films like the State Fair film, and we have women's issue films, and to try to do something online with them where they can show our film and they can do a program around it. And not to charge them, but just to do it just to make us feel good about doing it. And these are films that we usually sell and make money off of. So we just felt that need. So.
If anyone is looking, no, that's fine. This is not a paying gig, so take that with a grain of salt. We're always open for screeners for the Deep in the Heart Film Festival. We have a good bit already, but we could always take more. We like to hear different voices. So if you're interested in screening for Deep in the Heart, I just added a note in there for our contact information. So just putting that out there if you're looking for something to do with your time.
Samuel, when is Deep in the Heart?
So we're August. We got really, I hate to say lucky, but we got really lucky scheduling wise. We rescheduled to August, and so it doesn't look like we're going to get hit by this. And of course, anyone who wants to screen with us, we're giving free passes to anyone who wants to screen. And we're in Waco. That's where we actually hold the festival. So it should be, fingers crossed, a good time for us. And of course, I know Oak Cliff is usually June, right?
Yeah, we're evaluating that right now.
Yeah, no, totally. Look, we
Yeah.
we used to be in March, and we moved last year for other reasons to August, and we were looking at that going, wow, we just dodged a nuclear bomb. So yeah.
It's hard. I've been attending those Film Festival Alliance calls every week, and
Right.
everybody's in the same boat. It's chaos. So
I do have
all right.
one. I do have one more thing real quick.
Go for it, Greg.
Okay, so sorry, I was eating earlier, doing two things at the same time. With I totally forgot about this. I mean, I've got equipment from years ago, and I posted on Nextdoor.com that $20 of VHS tape, I'll do a transfer to digital and post it, or give it to you as a digital file. I mean, money doesn't go to me; it's really just for the kids, and they can put it toward buying a car one day. So and on Nextdoor, I got a half a dozen emails saying yes, I'd love to do it, and it's an easy project to just crank that out. So, but I have one more thing. I've got my studio. I know I'm looking at everyone who's on here. I think a big chunk of you guys have been to my studio. We've got Studio A, which is double-sided white cyc wall. Then I've got Studio B, which is pre-lit with a green screen background. Nobody's here. So if anyone wants to use it, just let me know. If you've got a little budget, if you've got no budget, buy me lunch. Or if you have less than a budget, I'll buy you lunch, and you can come by and use the studio for nothing. So I hate to have it just not being used, and anyone who wants to use it is more than welcome to just reach out to me.
That's really generous. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. You bet.
To offer, my name is Katie.Wallack. I work with SAG-AFTRA. I'm manager of contracts, and I just moved to Texas 5 months ago. And I wanted to say that we have a huge labor force just sitting at home that have cameras and actors that we can send emails out if you want to do content in that way. Your short films, or even going back with your advertisers for commercials and whatnot. Like, we have direct access to them, and they're sitting, waiting, and ready to do stuff. I wanted to toss that out as an option.
One
thanks,
thing
Katie.
I've actually had, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rebecca.
Oh, I was just thanking Katie. And Katie, I was going to say, would you be a good person to reach out to if we wanted to try to coordinate
Absolutely.
with that talent? Okay.
Yeah, I'll put my email in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, TJ.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was just gonna mention I had a couple people actually reach out to me that were like, "Hey, can you teach me Pro Tools?" And so I've done a couple of Zoom screen sharing sessions where I'm, they've got it on their end, I've got it on my end, and they can also see my screen, and I'm walking them through teaching a little bit. It's not a ton of money, but it's been a couple of sessions here and there.
Yeah, that's
and I'm
awesome.
sure that could work for editing, effects, After Effects, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, to add on to TJ, that's what I've been kind of doing. We've been offering editing and everything for clients that they have content, but they don't want to invest in a film crew because they can't anymore. They can't go out and shoot. There's too much people involved. So editing has been another support. They have content they've shot over the years. Some of them just want to do something creative or reusing that. There's value there in stuff that they've already produced. So we've been helping there, but we've also been helping our clients figure out how they can adapt to COVID and staying indoors. Figuring out, hey, we can do gift cards. If you get X amount of gift cards, you get a discount. Buy our shirts, support us. There's ways to help companies still stay in the spotlight of their customers, and figuring out how to help them do that is a big thing. And that's going to be a huge value for these customers to be engaged with the products that they want to keep using. Barbershops still need help. They've closed their doors. How can they help sustain that business long term? Finding ways to help them get to those customers is going to be key for the next couple months. And that's what we're trying to help customers and clients figure out. and technology is a big one. Teaching, giving up your skills, or even turning around and learning new skills yourself. I'm currently learning EV Sync to try to grow my skills to help take that knowledge and share it with my clients. If it's not helping somebody, help yourself. Learn something new.
All right, cool.
That's a really good point. I was just going to say that, I mean, we could talk about what's going to help us, but the thing that will really help us is figuring out how to help our clients with video. So.
Yeah, I want to offer a thought real quick. Rebecca asked how we were staying busy and how we were leveraging our time. And fortunately, we have one client still that we are helping. And something that you may think about if you have a client that you're still working with and collaborating with, this is a time for brands, companies to get involved and really think local and how they can make an impact. So if you have a client that has resources they can leverage that can help the community or help first responders, or if they can create content that speaks to their audience, if their audience is, families, homeowners, home with their kids all day, if you can somehow alleviate some of those pains that they're going through and adjusting and maybe actually get them to think positively about the opportunities they have to grow those familial bonds, you might find yourself starting to create content for them on social or and that's what we're doing actually, is we're starting to create content for our clients to have a voice during this current situation. So having those conversations with your clients and asking them those questions and thinking creatively might start to turn some wheels on some work. And the stuff we're doing actually is we're offering for no compensation. We're doing it because we want our client to survive this, because they're actually a small client. They're not a big company. But we want them to survive this on the other end, and so we can keep the engagement going, because we all win if we're all working when this all ends, to Alan's point.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Christopher. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap it up. We're going to post this video online here as soon as we can get it uploaded. I'm going to compile a bunch of the links. I know Joshua's been pulling stuff. Connie, that's a hot tip. I didn't know that you could save the chat, so I'm going to do that. But we'll put all yeah. So we'll put all these links out there. If let me go ahead and put, if you didn't already have it, the president@dallasproducers.org. You can send me questions, stuff that you're interested in, stuff that you're doing, stuff that you still have questions about, and we can try to continue to find more resources and find more answers. I appreciate everybody joining me here and being open to this format. I think it's still been a really good way to connect. So I'm thankful for you all, and we'll do the best I can. I know where everybody at the DPA wants to do the best they can to figure out how to help each other and to navigate this. So
can I make one last comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Real quick. I've been on a few of these Zoom calls, and this is the one group where everyone's headroom is perfect. Most of them are like this. And this is one where there's perfect headroom with everyone pretty much across the board. So, that's all.
And I will say that for the audio guy in the group, TJ, you're kind of dark there, buddy.
Hey man, I'm all about how it sounds,
And you do sound marvelous, I'll have to say.
Next time, 3-point lighting for everyone, okay?
I mean, you guys didn't do that today?
Look,
I think Luisa gets the camera shot of the document.
Yeah, Luisa definitely wins.
Oh yeah.
All right, well, everybody work on their at-home lighting setup between now and the next one.
I'm open for consulting as that side business. I'll come over and set you up.
Okay.
All right,
I have
cool.
all my own PPE. I'll come. I'll safe and secure.
Hey, actually, you know what? You joke about that, but I saw someone posting an article about that on Facebook recently about how to make your Zoom calls and stuff look the best. You might be able to make some little bit of side money here and there consulting for some people on that.
I'll hustle.
Yeah.
We're finding actually some success with that in running presentations for people over WebEx or StreamYard and actually doing stuff like that. So the CEOs and VPs want to actually still have a message across, but want to make it look good. So you have some consulting time. It's not a huge moneymaker, but it's a little something. So.
But do you want to go into somebody's house, really? It's not social distancing.
We're not going into the house. We talk to them over the line.
Oh, okay.
And talk them through it.
It's Miller time, guys.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's Miller time. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for
Take
doing
care.
all you do.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.